We just need you to flip it one more time, and we should be good. Woo! There you are.
Because I didn't turn the camera around. Okay, you guys, I don't do live. I don't do Instagram live. I just.
Well, thank you. Come on in, everybody. Come on in. I'm still having some technical difficulties over here, but I can see me. If you guys are out there on live, if you can see me, can I get some thumbs up, some hearts, something? So we're just going to go through this. We're going to go through this program. We're going to get started. You know, I'm really excited to be here today. Have Marie and Danielle join us in this Instagram live conversation that's taking place and against week. For those of you who have been following along and joining us, you know that we are in a 21-day Stand Against Racism challenge, and this is week 3 of the challenge. This week we are looking at racism and stereotypes in film and television. So if you're getting our email, you're hearing about and reading about things such as racism and stereotypes in the history of film and TV, like blackface, yellowface, birth of a nation, and to how things affect us today in regarding to BIPOC roles, colorism, and the lack of representation. I'm excited. My name is Tara Peterson. I'm the CEO of the YWCA Glendale and Pasadena. For those of you who are just first time joining us, our mission is to eliminate racism and empower women. And I am joined by 2 amazing women in our community. Marie Lemelle is the founder and CEO of Platinum Star PR and Platinum Star Media Group. And Danielle Salmon.
You got it right. It's like the fish, yeah.
Okay, it's a creator and chief eating officer. I love that title. Follow my gut. So we're gonna just jump right into the conversation. And I'm just like anybody who's watching, if you have any questions for our guests, put them in the chat. If you want to just say hello and let us know who you are, what organization you're with, who you're representing, you can go ahead and put that in the comments as well. So I'm going to just jump in. So a lot of the content this week has to do with representation and how that helps shape us as we grow. And then in this case, eventually enter this field ourselves. So to start off this discussion, I want to, actually, before we get there, I want to just, can you guys just introduce yourself quickly? Marie, can you just kind of let us know, tell us about yourself and what your role is and what you do in the community?
Marie Lemelle, thanks Tara and Danielle for being here today, and everyone else who's watching. I've just been in the industry for, decades, and my main focus in the beginning was Platinum Star Public Relations, which is a PR company, but I've since evolved to film production and talent management, but I still do both sides. So I get to see what goes on in front of the camera, behind the camera, before even the cameras roll, as far as negotiations, casting, figuring out, hey, does this move the needle forward for empowerment, for better images about us, and surrounding, our stories. So it's really a great opportunity to be part of YWCA on the board and working along with Tara and so many others that really support empowering women and girls and ending racism.
Great. Danielle.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Tara, and out restaurants and events at places like the Oscars or the Grammys, or sorry, the Emmys. And then I also run a wood photography company called October, and I am the public affairs representative for a major healthcare organization here in LA. And so my hand and my plate is pretty full, but it's full with some pretty great stuff. So that makes me really happy.
Well, I'm a foodie, so I'm excited to hear all about the great places to eat.
I got you.
Okay, we heard it live.
So I gotta commit. I know. Let's do it.
I want to be a chief eating officer too.
Right? I have that title. I think I got that title covered as well. So,
Yeah, we're all CEOs of that respect.
Yeah, there you go.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
So I want to get into, I had an opportunity. I was at the Pan African Film Festival yesterday, and it's their 30th anniversary, and Danny Glover was talking about the importance of creating things for us, by us, and how important representation is, and how representation matters. And I want to get a little bit into that. Like, I want to know more from you all about how did that influence you in entering the industry yourself? Did you find, and what kind of barriers did you find in trying to occupy the spaces that you're in?
Do you want me to start,
Start
Tara?
with
So thank you so much for that. I would say, with starting from my gut, when I began back in 2014, there was a growing space for food influencers and people who are writing about food. But in all honesty, it wasn't a lot of Black creators or Black food writers. And so that was very challenging in the beginning, is not seeing people who looked like me, not seeing anybody else who I could really connect to on that demographic level. But as I started to get into it further, I would find like one or two other people. I got to meet fun people like Evie from Ev's Eats, and seeing another face that looked like mine was helpful, right? It took a long time for a lot of other people joined into it, but one of our things, and I'm kind of speaking on her behalf because she did it for me as well, was we would always try to invite each other to other things or bring up other people who look like us. I've had multiple instances where there might have been like a racial stereotype that was said at an event and I'm the only Black person there, and how to navigate that was really difficult. But as I would start to see more people who look like me, it was really reassuring. In the wood space, there are more people who are doing DIY who are Black, and so that's really reassuring. But I definitely think it's something where once you see more of you in the space that you're in, it does make it a lot easier, and there's a lot of pressure lifted when you can see somebody who looks like you.
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, Danielle. Marie.
Well, I agree with you, Danielle. It does help to see faces that look like us and think like us and create like us. That's one of the biggest things in this industry, entertainment industry, across the board. Whether it's sports, whether it's the arts, whether it's dance, music, it's really difficult. I mean, unless you're just a creative, sometimes that helps. But when you're in a space of catering, food preparation, that type of thing, or like for myself, public relations and film production and whatnot, you're really the outside looking in a lot of times. I mean, it is definitely a circle has already been created a lot of times because of nepotism, because of internships that, as Black people, we weren't really pushed to do that in high school and beginning of college like now. That is mentorship, internships. I mean, that was not really on the forefront. It was more or less get through school, get a job, and that's it, and get a paying job, not go work for somewhere for free. We didn't realize that that is really shadowing someone or bringing someone along is so important. And that's one of the things that I pride myself of doing, is bringing in students, but not just students. It's not just the younger generation. There are a lot of 40 plus people that need help, that need guidance, that need mentorship and internship in a sense, to learn the ropes of what they want to get into so they can break in to that barrier and raise the bar where we can be a part of the conversation and at the table as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think a lot about, even just growing up and not being able to see images and see people that look like you in film and television, and then thinking about all of the lack of representation even behind the camera as well. So I would love to hear more about, like, how did you guys, how did you deal with when you were in situations where you had to navigate spaces where you're the only one, or navigate a situation or where you had to advocate for yourself as a woman, or even more specifically as a woman of color? Marie?
Well, I really started out in a very conventional way in the PR space. I had the opportunity to work with a boxing promoter. So I loved the sport, but I knew really nothing about how to promote it, how to talk about the fighters, how to prepare them for media interviews and whatnot. But I learned. I was able to have a couple of mentors, but they were men. I mean, because there really weren't any women in that space. So at first it was kind of like, oh yeah, pat her on the head, she's cute, but they realized that I knew what I was doing, you know what I'm saying? And I got out there, I was on the mat taking pictures until I got blood splattered on me, and I said, okay, I'm done with that part, so I just hired a photographer. But I learned to, writing is the foundation in so many parts of this industry. So because I am a good writer, that it made it easier for them to accept me. But at first it was kind of like, what do you know about it? How can you talk about that? But I took that lesson, the on the job lesson, and then went to UCLA and got the other part of the foundation, which was really great. But it's really not giving up. It's really not letting people tell you can't do it. It's not to be intimidated because you don't see somebody else like you. So what? I mean, it's like, okay, all eyes on me, no problem. You guys either help me or, I'm going to do better than you anyway. So, you have to have the sense of confidence and pay attention to your surroundings and kind of get a sense of what's happening. It makes it easier. So that way you don't, fail, I guess you could say, but failing is part of lessons.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Danielle, share a little bit about how you've been able to advocate for yourself or others as you navigate the space that you hold.
Yeah, so for me, thankfully, never had blood splattered on me. So I give you credit for managing that. But whenever I'm in a difficult situation, like I've had instances where I would be at an event, only Black girl there, and I've had somebody just say the N-word, and they say it so casually, and it's very like, oh, don't be mad, don't be bothered by that. And that's a very uncomfortable situation. And it's a big thing because you wonder like, okay, well, if I let this slide, does that mean that everyone can do this from here on out every time they see me, especially if I'm not comfortable with that? So one of the things I really had to become familiar with is what I'm comfortable with and what I'm not, and really advocating for myself to say, if I don't like that, I don't have to be around it. So it might be something where I'm at an event and I need to be there. If I can remove myself from those people, then I definitely will. I don't feel the need anymore to belong because it seems polite. If it really compromises me and my well-being and my happiness, and I'm in a situation where somebody says something that to me that isn't fair, I move away from it. I do my best to still stay there, but if it's a situation where you really can't get out of it, I do think there is courage in just saying, I don't have to put up with this. And it doesn't mean I'm not nice. It doesn't mean I'm being impolite to whomever, but I will communicate that with, say, an event organizer, like, hey, I don't feel safe because somebody said something that was really derogatory and offensive to me, and I'm going to step away from it because I shouldn't have to put up with that. One of the things that I did as a result of that event or that instance was I have a website where I talk about restaurants. At the same token, I wrote an entire blog post, which was a PSA. I'm Black. If you don't know that, these are the things that I stand up for. These are the things that I won't tolerate. So if somebody's going to say something that hurts my feelings, or somebody says something that mocks my race, my gender, I don't have to be around that, and I'll leave. And I think having that and communicating that often really sets the precedence that if I don't want to be there, I don't have to be there. And if it means I lose a check, well, here's your money back and I can sleep fine at night. And that makes it easier for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Danielle. Thank you for sharing that. Like, it's so essential and so important that, as we are navigating any spaces, that we're protecting our peace at all times. And if something does not help, something is toxic and it's not bringing you joy, there's nothing weak with walking away. It takes a lot of courage, right? And so I love that. Thank you guys both for sharing. Food catering, Danielle, this is for you. I have to tell you, last night at the Pan-African Film Festival, I had some of the best mac and cheese and yams and fried chicken. So I'm able to see firsthand how important food and catering is essential to the industry. Can you discuss these themes, how these themes play out in that industry, but also in the social media influencer and restaurant spaces?
Yeah. So first, I don't want to sound like a brat, but you didn't save any or you didn't give any to us. Like, you didn't send any out to me and Marie, but that's cool. But I think when it comes to, say, food catering, like small businesses that are like supporting these events, it's really exciting when you see like caterers or businesses that are representative of the community that they're in actually being a part of it. So I've done some things where I got to write about the Emmys, or I got to write about the food at the Oscars and say, hey, this is what the celebrities are going to be eating. And then you really get to see behind the scenes who are the ones like creating the mac and cheese, who are the ones creating like the ribeye that like John Legend's going to eat. And when you see it's actually that the Oscars or the Emmys or whomever it is giving money to a small business that might be woman owned, say Asian owned, and they're getting that like support, I think that's really exciting. And it's not to take away from, say, the big wigs in the game like Wolfgang Puck, who have done a great job at creating their own entities. But when somebody like I don't know, we can say like the Boys and Girls Club, we have like Airport Marine Accounting Services, when they're doing things like that, or even you and your organization are actually supporting smaller businesses, it really feeds back into them and helps them thrive as well. So with the hope of becoming something as big as these other entities like Wolfgang Puck Catering, I think that's really exciting. Do I see it as often? I'm seeing it a little bit more, but it's definitely better than how it used to be, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Marie, one of the kind of lesser known barriers to people of color, when they finally do get these opportunities to be on set, and we know you represent a lot of different actors, when some of your clients and especially Black women that get this opportunity to be on set and to be represented in film and television, is sometimes also the lack of finding people who can, and people of color, to do hair and makeup for these actors. And sometimes, we're also not creating spaces for those folks to have space. Can you talk a little bit about, how you represent folks in that space that are looking to get into the entertainment industry, that may have and have the ability to really do hair for Black and brown people?
Thanks. That's a great question. It's the hair and makeup that has been a bone of contention for many, many years in the industry, because it's a small circle. I mean, there's a lot of people, but there's a small group that will rehire the same people, or they'll ask those people, who do they know? But if they don't look like us, they're more than likely are not going to know where to find us. And it's a big issue. I have a client that he was on the show, let's see, what was it called? LA Hair on WeTV. And Terry Hunt. So he's a celebrity stylist, and he's done from A to Z. Lupita, from Zoe Saldana, just on and on. And they request him because once they talk amongst themselves, or their stylist may know about him, and a lot of it is because of the show. Even though he was very busy with his own salon and then working at the Kim Kimball salon and whatnot, it still was not easy to always get that. But now that he's made his name there, he's getting those jobs. Now, the nice thing is, because he wants to give back and make sure other stylists and makeup artists get the same opportunity, he and I collaborated and started an agency where we can make sure that people of color will get the artists, the hair artists, the makeup artists, the stylists, the wig maker that actually knows how to work with our hair and our style and our look, the appearance, all of that. So it's done well, but there's still a lot more to go, because again, it is about who the producers might know, and they want an answer immediately. They don't really want to look. They don't want to dig deep. And that's the same thing with catering. I mean, when it comes to craft services for sets, most people just ask, who do you know? Mm-hmm. And if we don't have that list, if we don't have that directory, if we need to really work together with Danielle and her groups to make sure that we reach out, because those are great paydays for them. And we learned with COVID how difficult it is to thrive, especially in the food industry. So that's a great way for us to support one another. And I think that connecting with some of the Black groups, filmmakers, Pan-African Film Festival, being there, talk to Babu, the executive director, talk to Danny Glover, talk to them and say, hey, here's a list of caterers that we have in all states. So that way we can also get a piece of the pie, because there's enough to go around, So, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You guys both, really hit on something that's really core and essential to the work of YWCA and the work that we do. And it's about empowering women, empowering people of color, but also lifting people as we climb, and how critical and important that is, especially for Black women. And so I want to just give an opportunity just to kind of uplift this a little bit more, and that conversation a bit more. And if in addition to what you just shared, Marie, is there, if interested in pursuing a similar path, how can they advocate for themselves, and what are some things other people can do who may have already established themselves, lift other people as they continue to climb?
You know what? It's all about the word of mouth, for sure. I mean, once we know, we need to share it. That's the, don't hold on to it. Oh yeah, of course I don't want everybody going to my favorite restaurant so I could get in, but you still need to share the wonderful food, the service, the owners. I mean, we have to just talk about it more. We put stuff on social media all the time, and it's great. And one thing I have a pet peeve about is when people put a picture of somebody that just made a dish, or they're showing the cooking, but where is it? Where can we find this? I mean, that's so important. But we also know about annual events like the Pan-African Film Festival, which I normally would have been there, Tara. If I'd have known you were going, I would have went. But I was just like, anyway, because I know the food is always good. But to reach out to the executive director, reach out to the organizers, let them know you exist. Say, hey, next year, I know you have at least 5 or 6 different events you need catering. Let's do a tasting and lock us in. You already know they're planning for next year. So Danielle, if you don't know them, I will put you in touch with them, so that way.
I'm very interested.
I just want to be there for tasting, but I'm just saying, that this is a way of doing it, and I'll be more than happy to take a list of restaurants and caterers and whatnot, private chefs, so that way I can share it with my circle of people in the film industry, the TV industry, because they are just going to Subway. Why? I don't get it. And then when I hear that's happening, okay, I'm out.
Right.
Just give me my per diem and I'll go buy my own stuff. But the thing is that there's too much healthy food out there that, food feeds the soul. And when you have good food, your mind is right, you're in it, you don't care if you're going to be there all night. But that is what people look forward to. Is food going to be served? And who is the caterer? So let's just spread the word, and keep in mind that even if you have an event at a hotel, I'm just pointing this out to Tara, you can bring in your own chef. You can bring in certain items and have them prepare it alongside their staff, because honestly, their staff wants to learn new stuff. You know what I mean? The same old when you go. I mean, come on. We need to have spices. We need to have herbs. We need to have, somebody needs to put the foot in the food. Okay? That's all I got to say.
Absolutely.
Can I chime in on that one?
Yeah.
I think that's so spot on. One of the things that I've been so lucky to do with a food blogging is really get to see so many different types of restaurants, see who's in the kitchen, see who's got their name behind the business. And so over time, I've just started collecting names. And anytime somebody's ever oh, we have an event, do you know anybody who can cook? I'm like, bet. I know exactly who you can go to. I know this restaurant. I know this place, this caterer, this person who is just a great baker. I'm like, hey, go with this person, go with that person. My thing is, I may not be the one making the final decision as to who they pick, but if I have my way, I'm at least going to send you a list, right? Even with the healthcare organization I work for, during COVID, we had moments where we were just never leaving the hospital, and they would be like, okay, well, does anybody know someone in the area who can get food from? Because we're tired of Subway, And so it'd be, oh, I know this place, Moderna.
Sorry, Subway.
Street. No slight to Subway, but slight to Subway. I know this amazing woman-owned burrito place on Pico. Can we go to any of these? And over time, we would start going to them. So I'm like, hey, if my job can start sending money there, then that helps me out. And like another thing I got the opportunity to do was write a Black-owned business article for Time Out LA. And so that became really fun for me because I know all these Black businesses. Like even the shirt I'm wearing is a friend who runs a company called Pasadena Classic. And it's like, if I can put him in that article and then like get other people to notice this amazing Black designer, why not? So one of my things is I have the option where I can really cultivate these lists of influencers, these lists of designers that I know personally. And if I can start sharing that with other people, why not? That's the least I can do. And that actually has a big impact. So I would definitely say that's to our advantage and something that other people can do as well.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree.
Somebody, wrote in the comments, like the joining forces and the importance of joining forces and collaborating. And I love that, here we are having a conversation about media and film, and we're talking about food, and it's almost 12:30, and I'm hungry.
I'm like, what side of town are you on? I probably know a great place you can go to. Small business, Black owned, Asian owned, I got you.
In Glendale? Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, we're in Glendale, so let us know, because I'm definitely going to be ready to order some food after this. But in the spirit of our Stand Against Racism Week, the theme around film and television, and the importance of representation and the importance of lifting other people, and I just want to hear from you both personally, like what would you have, what do you wish you would have known when you started on your path and your journey, that now? Danielle?
I'm going to be honest, and this is like such a flaw for me. So just like, go ahead and roll your eyes. That's fine, right? But one of the things I really wish I knew in advance, and I'm saying this because I was so naive and so optimistic, but I wish I really knew about performative, like white people just performing for the gram, like
Mm-hmm.
I was under the belief like no one has time to perform. Like if you don't really feel and agree with something, you wouldn't do it. And then when I saw all the Black squares pop up, or the girls, like the influencers showing up downtown and picking up like drills just for the picture to say that they were there, I was like, you guys actually have time for that? Like that's crazy. And everything that happened during George Floyd really brought to light, like, there are just so many people who truly don't care, or they're only doing it so they appear that they do. And that was really unfortunate for me to realize. I'm saying it again. I was very naive. Roll your eyes. I agree. I rolled my eyes once I found out. But I wish I had known in advance, like, that there are some people who just really aren't good at heart when it comes to really serious issues. And as unfortunate as that is, and as real as that is, there's so many other people who really are people who care. And so I do wish I knew that in advance so I wouldn't have been so gullible. But I also can look back on it and say, through that process, I found so many amazing people who weren't Black, who cared, who weren't, say, of the same group as I was, and they actually cared. They really used what they had to their ability to make sure that they spread awareness, that they made sure that other people felt seen, and that they were heard. Like sometimes it's not just about spreading awareness, but making sure that the people who are being impacted don't feel alone. And that was really reassuring to me, despite my naivete that was there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Marie, how about you? I mean, you've been in this game for a while now, right? And
Right.
and we we're not gonna, you barely look like you're 20, so but
Okay,
tell us.
copy on me next time.
So yeah, I mean, they say, well, what they say about Black. So you definitely, Black does not crack, and we see that in you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that. Wow, that's a really big question, because just like what Danielle was saying, there's a lot of people who just do things for photo op and for that the TMZ, moment. But there are people that are real and authentic. But honestly, it's not easy to find. You just have to hopefully give people the benefit of the doubt to figure out if they're really there for you or for themselves. So many people are selfish in this industry. And, a lot of my clients will say, oh, I don't understand why, people will treat me differently when I'm on stage with someone else and I, say hello and they kind of just ignore me. I said, well, a lot of times it's the pressure they're under. It's also, even though you may not be in the same genre of music, they still feel that sense of, you can take away, my audience, you could take away my spotlight. And it's a very, very difficult industry. If it was easy, everybody would do it. They think they're doing it when they're on Instagram or, Twitter or whatever. No, that's not really entertainment. But I mean, if it entertains you, that's great. But it's a lot of hard work. I mean, really, people, they train for this. I mean, it's deeper than just showing up and doing whatever it is you do. I mean, people work very hard. They're not overnight sensations like, some people might say. So it's very difficult when you put in the hard work and then somebody comes along, kind of steals your thunder. So it's a little bit of maybe envy, jealousy, their own insecurity. So it's hard for people to really lift somebody up behind them who does the same thing that you want to do. So there's a lot of people that I coach and let them know that it's not that people don't care, but they're afraid of losing their place of where they are now. So once people get to a level, they sort of don't look back because they're too busy looking forward, afraid that something will pull them back and they have to start over. It's really kind of a sad cycle, but we have to stay positive and say there's always something bigger and better that you'll be blessed with. Don't worry about what other people are thinking or doing or saying, because that they're in their own misery. They just want you to be a part of that misery. So sometimes you can't feed into it. And yes, walking away from it is probably the smartest thing to do, because you don't want to get into a confrontation or do something that is going to cause a bigger problem in the end. But I also believe in telling somebody something to give them something to think about. So when they say something that's really just, veiled racism, let's just say, my response a lot of times if somebody says something kind of like, oh, can I touch your hair or something like that? Just say, what, listen, unless you have a check for $10,000, you are not touching my hair, and I'm not interested in touching yours. So what makes you so curious about my hair? They have nothing to say to that. They're like, huh? Or if they ask the question, I say, why do you ask? When you say that to somebody, why do you ask? They have no answer. And then they have to really think about what they said. So sometimes it's good to say something so that way their thought is like, maybe that wasn't cool. No, it wasn't. But at the same time, it's like, you have a dog, pet that. If you want to pet some hair, there you go. Pet your cat, your dog, your parakeet. But don't come around me asking for that, because I don't know where that came from or who started it, but they need to stop. Okay? Because that is racism. Come on.
Yeah.
We all have different hairstyles. Can you imagine? We're in a room and the rest of them are going, oh my God, wow, how do you get your hair to do that?
Yes.
For
I
real?
appreciate your wisdom, your knowledge, your truth. And, and you've been in this game for a very, very long time. And, before we move to the last closing kind of questions, did you imagine that you would be able to, when you first started, like, I just kind of think about 20 years ago, 10 years ago, or however long ago you started this path and this journey, and for you to be where you are today in the industry and represent the people you represent, and you're producing and writing and all of those things, what is something that you wish you would have known 20 years ago? Or just share with us, just some insight on somebody who may be trying to just do what you're doing. They want to be in this position. What can they do to kind of follow in your footsteps?
Wow. You know what? you really I'll say this one thing. Build the foundation of what you're best at. you know, whatever that is, and figure that part of it, and grow that part. Find people that do that, and don't just say, can I pick your brain? You know, I mean, be a little more gracious. Listen, let's just have a bite to eat. Let's break some bread. Let me tell you what's going on with me, and then how we can help each other. So don't always just take, give.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
when people see that, how can we help one another? How can we collaborate? Then it's like, you know, because I have to tell you, in this industry, people will take, they're vampires. They will suck you dry and then leave you on the side of the road. So you have to be able to always have a plan B, C, and D, because not everybody's going to help you. Not everybody's going to tell you the truth. And not everybody you can trust. Because
Absolutely.
sometimes that same person will say, hey, so what's going on? What's going on in your world? As soon as you tell them, next thing you know, they're doing the same thing over here, trying to emulate what you're doing, and you know, pick your brain and figure it out, and then do. I have no problem with imitating as much as possible, but please, if you're gonna imitate it right. You
Absolutely.
know, don't look crazy, because
Yeah.
then when I get your client that you just royally screwed over, now they're broke and they want to come to me to fix it. I'm not Olivia Pope, not like that. So I'm just saying, yeah.
Critical, and I'm going to ask Danielle, go to Danielle, and then we're going to go towards the close. But, you know, and Fabiola put in here, build relationships. And I think that's what you were talking about. Like everything, every interaction cannot be transactional, right? And so, like,
Yes.
you know, you have to, you know, if you're going to be reaching out for mentorship, you're going to be reaching out for support, or trying to figure out what you can do to build your own, to become an influencer yourself, build your own social media, your own following based on whatever it is that you want to do. You know, that piece around building relationships is so critical and so important. And so, Danielle, I just, you know, I want to know about you. When I look at your following and your and you being an influencer, like how are you able to build strong foundational relationships?
You know, in the beginning, I was very nervous. Like, I was like, oh my God, people, like, are they gonna like me? I don't know. And it really came down to like, well, who do you want to like? Like, it's not so much like, do I need to be friends with everybody? It's really like, well, I like who I like and they like me. And a lot of it came down to really making sure that I was giving my authentic self out, because so much of this in the beginning, when I was nervous about it, I was like, do I show who I am? Do I talk how I want to talk? Do I really do the things that I enjoy doing? And I noticed when I wasn't happy as I could have been. So even things as making parody rap videos about restaurants to like Lotto, like that's something that a lot of people wouldn't do, but that's something I do. And it's something that I connect to because I love rap. And it may have been perceived one way, but it turns out it was perceived really great. But it was something that I know how to do, right? And I really felt like once I started doing that more and more, it solidified me as a person and it made me happier. And one thing I would definitely say for anybody who's trying to get into this influencer game or food writing is that you do exactly you. Like the phrase is so simple, just do you. And that's really where your happiness lies, when you are yourself, true and authentic, right? The other part of that is really, when it comes to building relationships, I think just like Marie said, there's some aspects that are super transactional. Somebody who just wants to like talk to you because they think you can help them get into X, Y, and Z place, but you'll start to weed that out really fast. I don't think it's impossible, or that it's never going to happen to you that you're going to run into people who do that. But the faster
Yeah.
that you can kind of sense that somebody is technically, I guess, just using you for something or their own gain, the quicker you can move on from that person and you won't have to deal with it. Within
Yeah.
this, I think there are a lot of incredible people who are so supportive, who are so true themselves, that once you get them, you can really weed out the others fast. Like, I know amazing people who have high numbers, like Varissa with Me So Hungry. She's this great Thai girl from, what is it, New Mexico. Amazing person. And she's really supportive. She's really a building a relationship type of person who I am so lucky to have. But there are some who aren't. And then once you can move past them, you're good. And that's really how it's going to be, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I just want to just quickly let people know that are tuning in live with us that please go follow both Danielle and Marie. You know, it's a great opportunity to support the work that they're doing, support them in the community, and learn more about them. Also, hopefully you're following YWCA Pasadena, and you are part of our Stand Against Racism Challenge. And just want to again thank you guys both for joining in this conversation, being in community with me. It was such a joy. I think one of the things, you know, we're sometimes talking about Stand Against Racism and talking about all the issues, and it's heavy, right? It's often heavy. And so, but I also think that joy, Black joy, is also part of resistance. Being able to celebrate and honor and uplift you too was truly, truly a pleasure. So thank you both for joining in this conversation. We appreciate your time and your commitment to your community and your craft and your industry. And with that being said, I want to invite everybody to make sure you sign up in the link in our bio for our Stand Against Racism Challenge to help promote it. We're in week 3 and we have another week. And so hopefully we'll see folks back next week to talk about reproductive justice. But thank you guys again so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
So
and thanks
much.
for doing this, Tara.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah. Okay,
Bye,
so we'll have
everyone.
lunch soon. We'll have lunch soon. Danielle, you tell us where we should meet.
I'm down.
I'm all
I'm down.
for it.
I'm
All
coming.
for it. Okay, thanks again, everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.
Bye.